Welcome to the Fireside Chat with Fei-Fei Li and Bill Daly. I will just take a quick second to introduce both of them. Bill Daly joined NVIDIA in 2009 as chief scientist after spending 12 years at Stanford University, where he chaired the computer science department. Bill and his Stanford team developed system architecture, network architecture, signaling, routing, and synchronization technology that is found in most large parallel computers today. Fei-Fei Li is the inaugural Sequoia professor in the computer science department at Stanford University and co-director of Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute. She served as the director of Stanford's AI Lab from 2013 to 2018. During her sabbatical from Stanford from January 2017 to September 2018, Fei-Fei was a vice president at Google and served as chief scientist of AIML at Google Cloud. Since then, she's served as a board member or advisor in various public or private companies. Fei-Fei's current research interests include cognitively inspired AI, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, robotic learning, and AI in healthcare, especially ambient intelligence systems for healthcare delivery. In the past, she worked on cognitive and computational neuroscience. Fei-Fei has published more than 300 scientific articles in top-tier journals and conferences in science, engineering, and computer science. She's the inventor of ImageNet and the ImageNet Challenge, a critical large-scale dataset and benchmarking effort that has contributed to the latest developments in deep learning and AI. In addition to her technical contributions, she's a national leading voice for advocating diversity in STEM and AI. She's co-founder and chairperson of the national nonprofit AI for All, aimed at increasing inclusion and diversity in AI education. Fei-Fei works with policymakers nationally and locally to ensure the responsible use of technologies, including a number of U.S. Senate and congressional testimonies. Her service as a special advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations, a member of California Future of Work Commission for the Governor of California in 2019 and 2020, and a member of the National Artificial Intelligence Resource Task Force for the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy and the National Science Foundation in 2021 and 2022. Let us welcome Bill Daly and Fei-Fei Li to the stage.
You go, I follow you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for coming to GTC, and hope you're as excited as I am to hear what Fei-Fei has to say. So let's go ahead and get started. So you're a co-founder of the Stanford Human-Centered AI Institute. What is the largest impact you see AI having on humans to date? And what do you see as the largest impact going forward?
Wow, that's a small question to start with, Bill. First of all, really honored to be invited to GTC. What is AI's impact on humans today? I think the AI is perhaps the most profound technology of 21st century in terms of transforming who we are, what we do, and what we can be. It's a technology about intelligence. And to be honest, up till this point, humanity's technological inventions are more or less staying at the layer that leaves intelligence alone, right? Whether we invent tools to go faster, to fly higher, to pull heavy things, to see what we humans can see, is all still more mechanical. But by the time AI is invented, everything that defines humans, to read a language, to understand a book, to translate language, to make decisions, to see patterns, to draw, to paint, all these fundamental human capabilities are being challenged by this profound technology. So the impact of AI to me is the profound impact of what humans are, what we can do, and who we are. That's how I see AI.
But do you see some particular area of human endeavor, whether it's medicine or education or transportation, where AI is going to have a larger impact than other areas?
I think AI is very, very horizontal. Even quite a few years ago when I was working as chief scientist at Google Cloud, I was seeing business analytics being a huge user and application area of AI. Now, I totally agree with you. Healthcare, transportation, mobility, education, software engineering. I see AI's impact really boundless.
Yeah. So some luminaries in the field, like Elon Musk and Sam Altman, have suggested that AI might pose an existential threat to humans. What do you think? What are the largest risks posed by AI? Is it deep fakes? Is it loss of jobs? What are the downsides of AI?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. You and I both come from universities, and one thing that I'm used to, especially working on a university campus, is that we should be allowed to ask all kinds of questions, including AI's existential threat to humanity. It is an intellectually important question down the road. It is something that humanity as a species should recognize for everything we have invented, not just AI, but also the way we're changing our Earth, the way we're, changing the relationship we have with the environment. But when it comes to AI, I'm much more concerned about more immediate and urgent catastrophic risks. And some of these risks you have mentioned are deeply social. For example, its impact to democracy. Because of mis and disinformation and its impact to work, whether it's job replacement or just labor market landscape shift, its impact to our relationship with data, our privacy, fairness. All these are potentially catastrophic social risks if we don't manage this technology's application well.
Okay. So you recently wrote a science memoir about AI. I have a copy of it here. You guys should all order it from Amazon right now.
Thank you.
Up here. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and why did you write it?
The book is a science memoir. Like you said, I put the word science first. It's a double helix structure about the coming of age of AI, especially through my lens as a computer vision scientist, where I see that the evolution of intelligence in nature started with perception of the world, and the evolution of AI, especially deep learning's history in the past decade and a half, is intimately intertwined with the evolution of computer vision as a field. So it's a coming of age of AI in the past a decade or so, but it's also intertwined with the personal journey of coming of age of a young scientist. And that part I felt I was coerced to write it, because when I was asked to write the book, a popular book about AI, I did spend a year in the middle of COVID to write just about AI. And a good friend of both of ours, John H. Mendy, a philosopher and co-director of Stanford Human Centered AI Institute, read my draft and basically said, you should rewrite. I was very, very distraught. And he said, look, a lot of people are writing about AI, but you have a unique journey, and you speak to so many people who don't feel they have a voice or can identify someone in AI with. These are immigrants, these are young women, these are people from all walks of life. These are people who are not necessarily your typical Silicon Valley AI persona. And if you give them a voice, it will be more powerful. And with that, I changed the structure to the double helix structure of the book.
Very interesting. So this is a coming of age of AI sort of intertwined with your sort of, I wouldn't say coming of age, but sort of becoming eminent as a scientist. As AI becomes mature, say in 10 years' time, if you were to write a sequel to the book, what do you think that would be like?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think I ever want to write a sequel. So it's a labor of love for sure. If I were to write a sequel of this book, Bill, I think I want to write a human triumphant story of how we use this technology to make lives and work better. And And I'm not saying this in a delusional, optimistic way, because I know the world is very, very complex. It's very messy, especially for the young people out there. Sometimes this world even feels a little dystopia. But if you look at the arc of human civilization, it is long, and to paraphrase Dr. King, the arc of human civilization bends towards justice, bends towards hope, it bends towards benevolence if we can use technology in the right way. So we're just seeing, even at this GTC, the tip of the iceberg of how we can use this technology to transform healthcare from drug discovery to personalized treatment to healthcare delivery. We have just begun to think about how education can be fundamentally changed, because suddenly we have a teaching assistant that can deeply personalize learning and teaching. We're just seeing that how scientific discovery can be assisted by powerful machines and cognitive assistants that can really accelerate the kind of scientific discovery process that humans have been doing for hundreds of years. So all this is giving us the light of hope that we will be in 5 or 10 years that using AI to find climate solutions, to democratize access to medicine, to take care of Earth as well as ourselves with the help of this technology. And this is what I want to write if I were to write a sequel, and I want to write about.
Well, I hope that's the future that we have to write about. It's a very optimistic and positive view of the world.
Well, I think I'm only positive if we're doing it together. I'm not positive just by sitting here and pontificating. I think the collective responsibility is, if we believe that, we do it.
Right, so we work together to make the future we want.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been very vocal about the need to provide resources for academics to pursue AI. Yet to date, it's really large, well-funded companies that have the GPUs and the data needed to train models. How do you see this playing out in the future? Will the NAIR materialize and democratize AI, allowing academics and small companies to have access, or will the brain drain from the academic world to the big companies continue?
Well, first of all, I think both Bill and I sit in various part of the advisory functions of today's White House. You're on the PCAST, and I'm on the task force for President Biden's NAIR. So for those of you who don't know what NAIR is National AI Research Resource. A few years ago, Stanford HAI led an advocacy movement to ask the federal government to consider the increase of resource to public sector AI, and especially the resource of computing resource as well as data resource. And that translated into an ongoing bill right now, still sitting in the Congress, called a Create AI Act bill. If this bill is passed and appropriated, it'll create federal funding to create a national AI cloud as well as data repository for the public sector to use it. And Stanford HAI has been leading that movement. And why do I spend so much time in Washington, D.C. and believing in that? I believe in public sector AI as much as I believe in private sector AI. And like Bill said, the balance right now is so off balance, right? Like, not a single university in this country today can train a ChatGPT model. We do not have that thousands of GPUs, not even A100, let alone H100, let alone B200. And some of you might ask, what is wrong with that? Because we have great companies, great big tech companies creating great, technology, and I think that's true. The private sector is wonderfully progressing, but I think one thing I would love for everybody to recognize is public sector produces public goods. And what is public goods? Public goods have several dimensions, and they're all important for us today and for the future. First, public good includes curiosity and knowledge-driven discovery and innovation. And this is so important. Everything you know about today's AI began as curiosity-driven academic research topics that no one really has heard about, right? From perceptrons to backpropagation algorithms to ImageNet, all this came from public sector. So that kind of blue sky curiosity-driven research is critical. It's a form of public good that's important for the continuous innovation of our society. Second part of public good is a trusted partner for the public to explain, educate, and evaluate technology. The private sectors are driven by their own goals, and who is there as a trusted partner to let us know how safe is this technology? What is the transparency index? Is the data biased? How can we use this inference in a fair and trustworthy way? These are important topics that public sectors are by and large doing and can help the public. The last but not the least, a form of public good is the most important one, is the talents. It's the talents of tomorrow. We are shouldering the responsibility of educating not only the workforce for tomorrow's technology, but responsible workforce that not only learns about how to code in AI, but also learns about the ethical framework of AI, the social implications of AI. So these are all public goods, and it's important to support public sector AI.
Well, on that heading of talent, if we're going to have public sector AI, it means we need to get AI experts into the public sector. Given the current AI job market, where there's huge bidding wars and basically paying many times what the top GS salary scales are able to pay, how do you envision attracting really good AI talent to the public sector?
That's such a great question, Bill. And I remember you were, department chair, hiring talents into academia just a decade ago. So first of all, it is always going to be true that more students will go into private sector, at least in this country, right? So it's not like we want to make it parity 50-50. But for those who have a life's dream of staying public sector or going to academia, I really hope resourcing them is very important. They're not looking for NVIDIA level compensation. They're looking for access to compute, so that, speaking personally, my students and I would love to have the kind of compute so that we can work with our Stanford hospitals to work on the projects, maybe a few hundred GPUs, if any. They're looking for a community that is not keep draining, right? They're fellow students and fellow faculty. And resourcing and also a private sector partnership with public sector will go a long way in resourcing them. But I also would like to call out innovation of public sector itself. Our public sectors are institutions. This country is a few hundred years old. Many of our leading public sector institutions are a few hundred years old, and the structure there needs to innovate and answer to today's rapidly changing industry landscape and talent landscape. So there is work we should do ourselves, but I hope that both sides can try to come together to make this better.
Yeah. Under the heading of public-private partnership, what do you think of the NAIR pilot? As you know, as our very hard-working public representatives in Congress are pushing the act to both authorize and appropriate the NAIR forward. In the meantime, a pilot has been launched largely with donated resources. And NVIDIA has put up $30 million and Microsoft a comparable amount of GPU cycles. Is this going to make a difference, and how do you see that working?
Yeah, great question. So for those of you who don't know, Nair Pilot is, like Bill said, it's a smaller amount of compute resources that's appropriated by the president's AI executive order back in November, right? So it's part of the EO. Um, I think positively in terms of the private companies coming together and trying to support this effort. As an academic, I was so busy supporting there, I missed the deadline applying for those compute credits. So I'm not going to benefit from this round. But I do see that my colleagues across the country who apply for this have a potential to get benefited. But let me also just be blunt. That's too small. I don't know if it's even a drop in the bucket, right? I'm not trying to dismiss that it is a nice first step, but I hope no one, I hope the White House, I hope the Congress, I hope that the industry leaders, I hope no one is content with that because it's way too small, given the kind of large models, the kind of data, the kind of potentials that are out there that the public sector can use these compute for. This is really literally a tiny drop in the bucket, and we have a lot more work to do.
So you've been sort of conflating public sector with private universities. If you were to split that apart and ask, how do you see the government actually using AI? Will it, serve the people better? Will it streamline access to various government services? What are the real public sector applications?
By the way, even private universities are .orgs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking
or .edu.
or .edu. My public sector is more not-for-profit organizations. But you have a great question about government use, because government, when it comes to AI, government role is both as a service, right? Government as a business service, not-for-profit, hopefully, as well as governance role. And I think there is both roles governments play. And at Stanford HAI, we have leading scholars working with the U.S. government, whether it's IRS or EPA or other agencies, to use AI to modernize the service of governments. Honestly, all of us sitting here are subject to this kind of, we probably feel like lack of modern service in many government sectors. And I think AI really can, just like it helps business, whether it's contact centers or, personalized help, AI can go a long way. And also, in financial sectors or even the public sector part of financial sectors, AI can do fraud detections, can help prioritize cases. I was just at the Secretary of Veteran Affairs in DC last week and talking to him about how we can help our veterans better using AI and serving them better. So there is a lot of uses in governments just to modernize and make their service to the public more efficient and effective.
The other role you mentioned of government with AI is that of governance. So the EU has recently passed a regulatory act for AI, and there are certainly a number of senators and congressmen in the US who are talking about doing something similar in many cases because they feel like they missed the boat on social media and they don't want to get behind on AI. Where do you see regulation for AI going, and is it going to do good or harm?
Yeah, this is such a profound question, and of course, when it comes to safety first regulation, EU tends to lead in terms of timing over America. Where America as a society takes pride in is our innovation, right? Our environment for innovate. I'm a centrist, which makes me very boring.
You are anything but boring.
Thank you. I absolutely believe regulation has a role. Regulation has a role just like if you have a house, if you have kids in your house, there are some guidelines, right? So think about every innovation. Seat belts saved how many lives? You know, clinical, regulatory efforts made our medicines and drugs safer, even though it's not perfect. AI is such a profound technology. We cannot not have regulation. But how to regulate in an effective way is really critical, because from a government point of view, and you sit on PCAS, we have these two forces. One is allow the society to innovate, to take advantage of this technology, to lift everybody, lift the prosperity. The other one is to keep it safe, keep it trustworthy, keep it fair, keep it transparent. And I think that's the tension between regulation and incentivization, and we have to do it thoughtfully. Just one example, I personally do believe in vertical space, especially healthcare, finance, mobility, all these vertical space where we already have a regulatory framework. It's actually time to update, because there are many urgent use cases that really do is really time for them to look at AI's impact. For example, medical devices. We have a lot of medical devices out there that have very loose regulatory, FDA, inspection or permission, and we should be really looking at those vertical space and where rubber meets the road, how we can keep the AI products and services safe. More profound regulatory measures in the form of, how does it impact our democracy, the social media. I have to confess, this is an ongoing, complex struggle of many sectors, from the civil society to academia to government. I don't think we have done a great job in the past 2 decades now, or at least 1.5. And I agree with you, Bill, that let's hope that we don't continue make, at least we need to learn something from that, right?
Yeah. Well, I agree with you that the vertical approach is the way to do it, because each of those verticals, whether it's NITs that regulate AI in cars, or the FDA and such to regulate AI in medicine, I think you could apply that to social media as well, and it would be the FCC, which regulates communications, whether it's over broadcast or whether it's on the internet. There are some who have suggested that we actually need a new agency for AI to regulate AI, independent of application area. That doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think of that?
I see AI as something to the extent of electricity or computers. And I don't think we can have an agency for electricity or computers. So it is hard for me to imagine an independent agency for AI. AI is so horizontal.
So from protein folding to weather simulation, AI is really rapidly accelerating science. It used to take, 1 PhD to fold 1 protein, and then AlphaFold did like 200,000 in, overnight. How do you see the biggest applications of AI for science, and how do you see this as transforming the scientific enterprise going forward?
I actually think this is the most exciting. I already mentioned, if you look at human history, human civilization, at the end of the day, it is these scientific discoveries and innovations that would, create profound impact. And AI, as a new tool to assist scientific discovery, is the opportunity of our century. I especially have the privilege of sitting on Stanford campus, where I talk to my fellow friends and colleagues from neuroscience, from material science, from nano, from aerospace, from oncology, from chemistry, and everywhere I turn, I hear their excitement about the data they generated, the kind of hypothesis they have formed, and how AI can, be just a superpower in accelerating their discovery process. So I think, going back to the question, the role of public sector, especially in university, I think doubling, tripling down in scientific discovery is exactly what universities should be doing, and that's the opportunity.
So you personally have been very involved in a number of endeavors applying AI to medicine. In that area, what do you see as sort of the most exciting things going on now? Where do you see that field being in 10 years?
Talking about writing a sequel of the book, if I were to write a sequel of a book, I hope half of it is healthcare and medicine, because I think, you know, AI's application in medicine is probably the most profound and sweeping, right? Like, I don't personally work in the upstream of drug discovery, biochemistry, genomics, and all that, but there, the combination of AI and biotech is just accelerating so rapidly. I happen to, in the past decade plus, work in the most downstream of healthcare, which is healthcare delivery. This is where nurses, doctors, home care workers care for patients and the elderly and the chronically ill patients. This is where safety is a concern. There is a labor shortage. Even when there are caretakers, it is a very skewed market that women and people of color tend to be predominantly working in this space, yet they're not even counted in the GDP, right? So there is a lot of imbalance, inefficiency, and also human suffering in healthcare delivery. So the kind of opportunity I see is that AI can really become guardian angels or assistive guardian angels. For example, my work with Stanford Hospital puts passive sensors, non-invasive, privacy protected passive sensors in patient rooms, where it helps the hospital to watch important clinically relevant events like are patients about to fall, events like sudden deterioration of patient condition, events like improper hand hygiene practice by clinicians. These are clinically relevant events that are right now today living in the dark space of healthcare. And AI as a form of intelligent sensor can really help illuminate that dark space. And also going to homes, if we believe technology is going to bring prosperity, is going to shift jobs, then we need to believe that human lives need to continue to live with more dignity, more independence, more self-respect. And as the society ages, we want our elderlies to have that dignity and independence and living situation. And the AI can help ensure that even when you're living alone, even when you're living with chronic illnesses, AI sensors as well as AI technology can help keeping an eye on you without invading your space, keeping the communication of your well-being with your caretakers or family. And this is the space of healthcare delivery that I work in and I feel passionate about.
That's a very exciting future. So we've seen a very rapid evolution of models from the early ImageNet days when everybody was making ConvNets to RNNs for language to transformers. What's next? Do these new Statespace models hold promise, or what do you see as being our dominant network model down the road?
Well, the latest are the diffusion models, and I don't have a name for you. If I do, I would just register it right now. But I think, first of all, I continue to believe in the scaling law of data. I don't think we have seen the end of that. There's a lot of conjecture of, have we seen the end of, I don't know, language data? I don't know. I don't work in the language space, but in terms of the world data, the multimodal data, there is a lot out there, and humans and nature is producing. and taking advantage of that, using model architecture that supports that is, I continue to bet on that.
Right. So if you take this sort of chinchilla scaling laws for LLMs and you apply it to multimodal data,
Yeah.
one would suggest that you then need bigger and bigger models as you get more and more world data to train. Is that the direction you think things are going?
I think that's one direction. Another direction I do believe in is the structure of the world, because language is actually I'm kind of jealous of my colleagues in NLP because fundamentally it's a 1D structure, right? I work in vision. It's fundamentally 3D. If you add time, it's 4D. And 3D structure is a lot richer, but it's a lot more complex. So so when we scale with big data, if it's complete blind scaling, well, I guess NVIDIA will be happy. You'll sell a lot more chips. But I would like to see the combination of structured modeling or models that are biased or induced by more 3D awareness and structure that combines with big data. And I think there is, to really create the kind of spatial intelligence, the kind of world models that is still lacking today.
So you're suggesting something like the physics-informed neural networks that are used for many types of scientific simulations, you would extend to basically take priors that you know about the world and use that to make these world models more powerful.
Yeah, physics and dynamics and structure induced and informed. Yeah.
So do you see foundation models coming for the world that we can ask any question about the world and it will respond to us in multimodal 4D formats?
I do see foundation of models coming to world, and I don't think you need to just ask questions. That's a very language-centric way of interacting. I actually think you can interact with it. Look at humans, right, or organisms. One thing that I, being a computer vision person, would like to remind everybody: nature took 540 million years to create perceptual brain. It only took a few 100,000 years to create a linguistic brain. So perception is deeply, deeply profound.
That's a good point. Many, many millions of years ahead.
Or it's just harder, so that takes longer.
So one of the risks that people have posited about AI is its disruption of the job market. Whether you could say it will create jobs and it may make other jobs less important. What jobs are uniquely human that you think could never be replaced by an AI or a robot?
That's such a great question, Bill. You should have told me before you're asking this.
I actually sent all these over a couple days ago.
It's a dangerous question because every job our ancestors has imagined since the beginning of our civilization have essentially be done or collaboratively done by machines, right? So moving, flying, computing, and all this. So what I feel is that what is the definition of job? If job is a task, the task of grabbing something or cooking an omelet, I think it will be done by machines. But if job is part of being human, is part of defining our creativity, defining our uniqueness, defining our intention, our compassion, our emotional connection to unique emotional connection to others, and the unique contribution each of us can have to others or to the society. And I think that will never be completely replaced. We will be using machines to help us to do that kind of job better. But I don't see a fundamental replacement. And again, let me go back to healthcare, right? At this point, I spent decades in hospitals taking care of my elderly, ailing parents. And every time I go into that patient room with my parent, I look at the way that the humans caring for humans or humans needing humans to care for humans. There's something so profound in that relationship and interaction that no robots, no AI, no computer, no AR, VR, whatever you're thinking of as the next generation technology can completely take over. The same with teachers, with children, parents with kids, services that we really value, the trips we take. There's so much about being human and about human-human interaction that goes beyond computation, calculation, mechanics, that I think those will be the kind of jobs that will remain and will evolve into, so that we'll be more and more superpowered by machines, but the crux of being human will not be replaced.
So you're suggesting sort of the, well, yeah. Obviously, the audience is deeply moved by that. You've connected with them in a deeply human way. But you're suggesting that sort of the empathy and emotional connection and caring is
and creativity.
And creativity is a uniquely human thing. But isn't it the case that if we chose to train AI models to have those characteristics, that we could do it, and we could build caring AI models that can emotionally connect with people?
To an extent. I mean, I work in computer vision, and the kind of text to image and text to video generation that are already deeply creative. But I also think, just like nobody here can predict who will be the next Einstein, that kind of creativity, uncertainty of creativity, is just gonna forever exist in our human society. So no matter how you train machines, you cannot train that kind of human intelligence or human creativity. And it's not just Einstein, it's Beethoven, it's Shakespeare, it's Van Gogh. There's just so much. And doesn't have to be even someone as smart. My own kid, I don't think any machine can create that sweet, smart, humorous little child that I have. And that is unique. And machines cannot take that away.
Because there is part of us that's uniquely human and will never be replaced.
Yeah.
On the topic of creativity, generative AI is doing amazing things. OpenAI recently produced Sora, where you can type in a prompt and get a video that just looks great. Are we ultimately, maybe when you write your sequel in 10 years, going to be to the point where if you want to watch a feature film, you just write a couple lines of the prompt and it'll generate a 2-hour movie for you?
I don't think that's going to take 10 years, Bill. So produce a lot of B200, it'll come very soon. That part, I believe, is going to happen very soon. So I think, I'm sure Sam has a timeline better than mine, but I, as a technology, I see that coming in the horizon. The ability to create longer forms of, generated world, generated storyline, generated character interaction is at the fingertip.
So in such a world where we have AI programs generating most of this content, what is the role of the human content creators who are in Hollywood or in the game studios or the like?
It goes back to that human uniqueness, right? I don't know how many of you are fans of Miyazaki, Ghibli Studio. Well, yeah, so the best. I mean, I just love watching their movies over and over again. And from a computer graphics point of view, it is pretty rudimentary. They don't do the kind of Pixar graphics, DreamWorks graphics. So it's yet that unique story, right? Like, for example, My Neighbor Totoro. How simple is that story? How simple is that kind of humanity in that movie? Nobody, nobody can create that except Miyazaki, and I think that is still what's human, right? AI will create movies and will create contents that entertain people, but there are people who will use AI to create contents that would touch others or inspire others or serve others in a way that AI cannot. I do see that habitat possibility.
Right, so you're suggesting that the AI will basically take over the production part of these creative things, making really compelling, videos, getting the graphics looking really good. But ultimately, it's what you said before. It's connecting with humans on an emotional level, telling the story that moves somebody to tears. That will be the human part of
Exactly.
the endeavor.
The one thing I keep stressing, Bill, is that do not forget our humanity. Do not forget our dignity. Do not forget each other's dignity and humanity in this machine age. That that is what is core to us, and that is what makes us unique, and that is the beginning of how we frame the application of machines, the usage of machines.
So, the world is a global place, and AI research is a global effort. How do you think everybody should work together, going forward to accelerate and ensure responsible development of AI, particularly in an environment where there's an increasing divide between two countries that are both very capable in this area, the US and China? How can we work with them and bring the world closer together?
Yeah, the world is complex, and I'm not going to pretend I understand all the complexity and messiness. At Stanford HAI, we are actually working with global community. We're especially working with countries that have shared values of democracy and human rights, and I think it's really, really important. I also think that science, arts, just again, the fundamental humanity of ours have always been a fundamental uniting force of humanity, no matter where the geopolitics and all those goes. So from that point of view, a continued effort of collaboration, outreach, and just exchange of genuine ideas are still so important.
Do you see the current freeze, between the U.S. and China, where, for example, we're not able to ship them GB200s?
That's a Jensen question, not a Fei-Fei question.
Yeah. But even on the level of academic collaborations, I think there's a certain amount of pressure put not to collaborate with people in certain countries. Do you see this easing up? Because ultimately, I think the world is a better place if we all work together.
Okay, that's a great question. I suppose, I mean, we all are grown-ups living the ups and downs of politics. I suppose policies will change. Right now, it's not yet easing up. We
Well, they
have
could
to.
change either way.
Right. Well, you work with the president. You tell me.
I'm interested in your view.
My view is right now, following the guideline of what universities giving us, it's not easing up. That is the factual statement. Can it one day ease up? We will see. I don't know. If it eases up, there are definitely opportunities of collaboration. I myself, again, for example, I have great hope that healthcare is an area that global collaboration. We have actually collaboration in Thailand, in Singapore, so these are really important topics that we need global collaboration.
Yeah. So we have 1 minute and 32 seconds left. Is there anything else that you'd like to impart the audience, perhaps bringing them to applause once more?
Well, that is a tall order. I the one thing I mean, GTC is a special conference. You're already here because you're somehow involved in AI. As I write the book and talk to a global audience, especially a global young audience, the one question that I often get, and every time I get someone asking that question, it still moves me, is that what is my role? I'm not a computer scientist from a science major from Stanford. I don't do software engineering. I didn't grow up in, a household of computers. I love dancing. I'm serving my community that is, a semi-rural community. All these people coming from all walks of life and ask me, what is their role in AI? Because it feels so complex, right? Like, 700 billion parameters. Like, how do you wrap that around your own brain? And then all these fancy words, transformers, generative, diffusion, they seem so far from you, each individual. But I really want to bring it down to this is a tool. It's a tool that does take some mathematical and computing to make it happen. But humans are, at the end of the day, not only creators of tools, we're also decision makers of how to use tools. We're creators of applications of tools. We're also, customers of tool. We are voters who decide how to govern the tool and govern the people who want to use the tool. So there is so much civic possibilities in participating in AI. I especially want the young people, the people who loves arts, who loves community, who loves law, who loves medicine, who loves, chemistry, whatever your interest is. Embrace this technology and embrace it with a sense of responsibility that you can actually make a difference to make it better, use it better. And that's really my plea to everybody. You have a role in AI, and please join us to make it better.
Thank you.
Thank you,
There
Fei-Fei.
you go.
I think you've inspired everybody and given us a lot to think about. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
This
for
was great.
inviting me,
Yeah.
Bill. Yeah.
And everybody have a great GTC. Thanks for attending.